and across the top, it said, "Happy 18th birthday." I had spent the last 3 hours looking at it, waiting for my parents to come home from the hospital. But deep down, I already knew what was coming. I knew at the moment my mom called me from the emergency room, her voice frantic, not because someone was dying, but because my 17-year-old sister, Maya, was having another one of her episodes. Maya didn't have a medical illness, she had an allergy to anyone else being the center of attention. When the front door finally clicked open, I stood up from the couch, trying to force a hopeful smile onto my face. My dad walked in first, looking exhausted, avoiding my eyes. My mom followed right behind him, her arms wrapped tightly around Maya, who was sniffling dramatically into a tissue, her eyes completely dry. I opened my mouth to ask if everything was okay, but before a single word could leave my lips, my mom held up a hand to silence me. She didn't even look at the cake. She didn't look at the small pile of unopened cards on the table. She just looked at me with a mixture of annoyance and exhaustion. "We're calling it off," my mom said, her voice flat and final. "The party tonight, we're not doing it. We need to cancel the catering and tell your friends not to come." The words hit me like a physical blow. I felt the air leave my lungs. "What, Mom, why? My friends are already on their way. It's my 18th birthday. We've been planning this for 2 months. Your sister is having a very difficult time right now," my mom snapped, her tone sharpening as she defensive shuffled Maya toward the stairs. "She had a panic attack at the mall because she realized that this entire weekend is going to be about you. She feels completely invisible. She's at a turning point in her life, and seeing you reach this milestone is making her feel incredibly insecure. Your sister doesn't feel special enough, and having a massive celebration right in front of her face is just cruel." I looked at my dad, desperately searching for a voice of reason. "Dad, please, it's just a dinner in the backyard. I'm turning 18. It's a milestone for me too." My dad sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose, refusing to meet my gaze. "Just let it go," he muttered quietly. "Your mother is right. It's just a birthday. You can have dinner with your friends next week. Right now, we need to focus on making sure Maya feels supported. We can't have a house full of people cheering for you while your sister is crying upstairs. It's just not fair to her. Not fair to her." My voice cracked, the tears finally burning the back of my eyes. "What about what's fair to me? For the last 5 years, every single one of my accomplishments has been buried because Maya couldn't handle it. When I got my driver's license, she threw a tantrum until you bought her a car first, even though she couldn't drive yet. When I graduated top of my class, we had to leave the ceremony early because she had a headache. And now, on my 18th birthday, I have to cancel my life because she doesn't feel special enough. That is enough," my mom shouted, her face flushing red. "You are being incredibly selfish. You are the older sister. You are supposed to be the mature one, but all you care about is a stupid party and some cake. Maya needs us right now. If you can't understand that, then you are a part of the problem. Now, help me call the guests and tell them the party is cancelled." No arguments. They walked upstairs, their footsteps echoing in the sudden, suffocating silence of the house. Maya cast one look back over her shoulder, a tiny, satisfied smirk playing on her lips before she disappeared into her bedroom. I stood alone in the kitchen, staring at the cake. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't a sudden burst of anger, it was a cold, clear wave of clarity. I realized in that exact moment that I was never going to win. I was never going to be enough. In this house, my role was to be invisible so that Maya could shine. My role was to sacrifice my happiness to keep the peace. I walked over to the counter, took the plastic wrap off the cake, and grabbed a fork. I took one bite right out of the middle. It tasted like ash. I dropped the fork, walked into my bedroom, and pulled my large suitcase out from the back of the closet. I didn't pack like a person who was throwing a tantrum. I packed like a person who was going on a long journey. I packed my clothes, my birth certificate, my passport, and the money I had saved up over the last 2 years from my part-time job at the library, money my parents didn't know about because I kept it in a separate bank account. I packed my laptop and the few framed photos of my grandmother, the only person who had ever made me feel like I mattered. It took me 45 minutes to pack my life into 2 bags. The entire time, I could hear the muffled sounds of my parents upstairs, treating Maya like a fragile glass doll, promising her a shopping trip tomorrow to make her feel better. They hadn't checked on me once. They hadn't even texted me to see if I was okay. I carried my bags down the stairs quietly, making sure not to let them hit the steps. I set them by the front door. I walked back into the kitchen, took a black marker, and wrote a note on the cardboard box of the birthday cake. I wrote, "Enjoy the cake. I hope it makes Maya feel special enough. Don't look for me." Asterisk. I unlocked the front door, stepped out into the cool evening air, and closed it softly behind me. I didn't look back. I called a cab, went straight to the train station, and bought a ticket to the city where my university was located. I wasn't supposed to move into my dorm for another 3 weeks, but I had enough money to rent a cheap room in a hostel until then. As the train pulled away from the station, my phone began to vibrate violently in my pocket. Missed calls from my mom. Missed calls from my dad. Text messages starting with anger, then turning into confusion, and finally into panic. They had finally walked downstairs and found the note. I looked at the screen as it lit up with my mother's name for the 10th time. For the first time in 18 years, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel the need to apologize for taking up space. I slid my thumb across the screen, switched the phone to airplane mode, and placed it face down on the seat beside me. I leaned my head against the cold glass of the window, watching the lights of my hometown fade into the distance. It was the worst 18th birthday I could have ever imagined, but as the train sped into the dark, I knew it was also the first day of the rest of my life.